I'm Glen Darcey, Vice President of Product Management for Arturia. Today I'm going to be telling you about our new Vox Continental V software. Alright, this is our new product. This is Vox V. It's a recreation of the classic Vox Continental 300. The 300 was dual manual, as you can see. The bottom manual was basically a Vox Continental. It was the traditional one that was used on like The Doors' Light My Fire, or Animals' House of the Rising Sun, Gold Elvis Costello stuff as well, Madness, different groups like that. A lot of those people then went on to the 300 or the Super Continental. The Vox Continental 300 had a noticeable difference. The upper and the lower had different upper harmonics in the drawbars. You can see this one's got 4, and it's got this Roman numeral 4. This one's got 5, and it's got the Roman numeral 2 and 3 on here. So I've got it all connected up to my Keylab 49. Most of the parameters are pre-mapped. So right now I've got it set to the lower. So let's just get rid of those. Let's go to the upper, get rid of the same drawbars. And you can hear the difference between the 4 and the upper with the 2 and 3. So it's a little different sound in the upper harmonics, you know, when you start to blend that in with the lowers. It's got a little bit more of a nasally kind of tone that the other harmonics bring in. So we've recreated it pretty faithfully here. We've got the pedals, and by selecting bass I can just play it on the bottom octave. You notice on the bottom octave that the bass is monophonic and it's low note priority. On the left side here we have the bass switches, so you can go between 8 foot and 16. You've got a reverb switch and then a reverb amount control. You've got the vibrato switch as well, and the vibrato is mapped to the mod wheel. So I'm going to go back to the lower keyboard here. And as I play down the lower, you don't hear that bass part. If I hide the pedals, now you hear the bass part. Supers in the 300s, they had a plug on the back, and if you plugged in a set of bass pedals, it would disable the pedals in the disable the bass in the lower octave. And we've done the same thing here. So if you don't have the pedals showing, then you've got the bass on the lowest octave of the lower keyboard. If you do have them, then you've only got them on the pedals themselves. So one thing that we've done is we've created an extended mode. So by click on an EXT up here in the menu bar, you now get the extended mode. And the extended mode gives you separate drawbars for each and every harmonic. So you get more tonal capabilities here. One thing that we've also added is we've added a strings wave. You can hear the difference. So it's a nice added timbre. There's even a preset here that was created called a String Machine, which when you listen to it, it's kind of cool because it kind of has that old string machine sound to it. But I'll go back to the standard. And so we've added all the drawbars for the upper and the lower, as well as the 3 waveforms now for the bass upper and the lower. In this, we've also added a tremolo. Now the tremolo is only on the upper keyboard. So we did this for the reasoning of that would sound really bad on the bass. So if you're playing the lower and you've got the bass hidden and you're playing on the bass, it would sound really bad to have that going blah 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 blah. So we just have that on the upper only. We've also expanded the percussion. So if you look at it in standard mode, you've got an 8/4 mix with the short and the long. And once again, percussion's only on the upper also. So the mix has a couple different waveform, a couple different voices in them. And we've divided them up here so you can get a little bit more precise as far as which ones you want exactly. I can turn off. So you can hear it's a nice percussive attack at the beginning. Now we've taken all this and we've gone even further, trying to really recreate some of the things that you did or could do in the originals. The originals had separate tuning for each and every note, so we've brought that back. And it allows you to kind of create some of the inharmonic tunings that you'd find on some older Voxes. You know, if they had been on the road or not calibrated, they'd start to go out of whack a little bit. But it creates a nice effect when you've got, you know, not a perfect tuning like you get in some of the sample playback types of versions of Voxes that you'll find. You know, this one is really modeled circuitry. We're modeling the original circuitry from the original schematics of a 300. One other thing that you have on a real Vox is you've got this background noise. And you can always hear this kind of playing in the background. And it's sort of like when you're recording a guitar amp. You really want that kind of the hum and the hiss and stuff. If you listen to some of the early amp modeling things that didn't have that, it just didn't sound natural when you're trying to make a guitar recording. And the same thing goes for people doing Vox sample libraries and things. They do the samples and it has the background noise, and now you've got polyphonic versions of the background noise, and it just doesn't sound right. So we've got a background noise level. I find that at about minus 50, somewhere in that area, it sounds like an original one does. On the machine that we actually, one of the machines that we actually got for modeling, the Jennings, it has its background noises more like that. Now, speaking of the Jennings, because we had a Jennings, the Jennings J70, we modeled that as well. Now, the deal with the Jennings is that Tom Jennings was the guy who originally designed the Vox. He designed them starting, some of his early designs started back in the late 50s. And he was just looking to make a portable organ, portable version of like what you'd get with a B3 or something. And later it became, Jennings ended up selling out the whole Vox brand with the amps and the organs. And the company that was managing it, he didn't really like it, and so at about 68 he left and formed his own company again, and he continued and made the Jennings organ. And he made a Jennings J70, J71. I think he did a 68 and a 69 as well. So we got hold of a J70 and we modeled it. And you can hear it's a different sound. So the Vox is a little bit darker, a little bit more of a nasal kind of thing to it. They're both great sounds, so we decided we wanted to have the Jennings in there as well, because that really was the continuation. The Jennings was the follow-up to the 300. And so some of the things like the expanded percussion section, having all the drawbars on the upper voice, that all came from the Jennings J70. So those were features that we wanted to mimic. Now, anybody who used an old J-wire type of analog synth that had a single key contact, or some of the old string machines and things, you had the one bus wire key contacts, and they get dirty, and keys would drop in and out and do crazy things. Well, on these organs, they had a key contact for every one of these harmonics. So yeah, like on the Jennings, you had 8 different key contacts on each and every key. So they would definitely get dirty. So what would happen is with not just one dirty key bar, you'd have 8 of them. You'd have notes, different harmonics drop in and out depending on how hard you were playing notes and stuff. So we kind of mimic that with key contact age. And so sometimes you'll have, maybe this will drop out of one voice or this will drop out on another voice. And it just adds to kind of the life of the whole sound. And one thing I kind of skipped over was the reverb. You've got the reverb and you've got the reverb control for the amount. And what we did with the reverb is we actually used a convolution reverb. So what that means is that we took actual impulse responses recordings from classic spring reverbs, and we used those as the harmonic profile for the reverb. So you can look under here, and you can choose different types of reverbs. You've got the Kings, kind of short. Then you've got the RV1s. This is the mono one. You've got a flat. You've got a high cut, so it's darker. Then you've got a RIAA, which kind of cuts the lows and boosts the highs. And I'd suggest you listening in stereo, because then we have stereo versions. And the stereo reverb's pretty amazing. It's a huge sound. This is from a stereo spring that I have myself, that I took the impulse responses from, and I've yet to find any hardware or software reverb that matches the sound of that. And we were able to do it within this. So we've also added a tremolo, and as I said before, tremolo is upper lower. We've added the tremolo depth and rate controls in the open mode, and we have depth and rate for the vibrato as well. So this gives you a lot of different options for this. You can get a lot of different types of sounds. We've got effects that you can add into the thing. You can throw in a flanger, phase shifter, nice stereo chorus. Turn off the reverb. Nice analog delay. Doing a single slap back on the analog delay in combination with the reverb makes for a really nice sound, by the way. We've got an overdrive. So if the Vox isn't dirty enough for you, you kick in the drive there. On the outputs, you have direct out, and then you can also add a Leslie. So, and you've got stop and slow and fast. You've got depth and width controls for the upper and lower. You've got a shape control for the upper. You've got a global rate, and then an output level. But most Voxes were used live or used in the studio, and they were recorded through a guitar amp. So we've added a guitar amp model here. With the guitar amp, you've got volume, you've got a drive. You've got another reverb in the amp. You've got high, mid, low controls. And then you have different speaker cabinets. So you have a 112, 212, 410, 412. And you've got different mic modeling as well. So you've got a lot of different combinations that you can make with the amplifier. And that really gives you kind of more of a realistic type of sound if you're trying to recreate kind of a classic 60s sound for how these instruments were really used. This is what you want to do, is go through the guitar amp model. One thing I've been doing this whole time is I'm using the Keylab 49. We've got it pre-mapped. We've got the Vox V pre-mapped to work really well with the Keylab. we have a Keylab preset that you can download from the resources section of the Vox web page within the arturia.com site. You can load that up, pull this template in, and then you can see I've got, I'll go into extended mode here. I've got these buttons are all going to the buttons over on the left there, bass, reverb, tremolo, on and off. Over here they're going for the percussion sections. The drawbars I've got on bank 2. It's kind of my lower section. So I've got the 8 drawbars going to those 8 drawbars. For the tones, I've got these set for the uppers. And I've got these set for the bass. Then if I go up to here, I've got those are set for the upper keyboard. And those are set for the upper as well. That's one thing to notice is that in some of the sample library versions of Voxes that you have, you go to adjust the drawbars and they don't update in real time because they don't play the samples until they redo them, so until they get re-triggered. So it's kind of nice. You can really play it like you would a real instrument. That being said, the swell pedal is also mapped to an expression pedal. I've got an expression pedal on the back plugged in. I've got a sustain pedal. The sustain pedal is auto mapped to the Leslie speed. You can click between slow or fast off of the off of your sustain pedal. Makes a nice little performance thing. And then once again, the vibrato is mapped to the mod wheel. What I've mapped in the Keylab as well is that I use the sound and the multi buttons to go between the upper and lower. So let's go to the lower here. And then I can jump back and forth between the upper and the lower. You can see over here you can directly click between the lower keyboard, upper, the bass sections. And then you can set up splits. So if you've got like a 61 or an 88 note keyboard and you want to use it, you can set splits between the upper and the lower to try to get all of these sounds from the upper and lower manuals on there. You have a multi-mode over here as well. And in the multi-mode, you have separate MIDI channel selections for each, the upper, lower, and the bass. Then you can also, if you're using different splits, you can shift octaves up and down if you need to, so that you're not just playing this upper octave wherever your split is. You can shift it down or up to match it. And we've got different colors. So it's the gray like the UK Vox and the Jennings, and then red was like the Thomas and the Italian-made Jennings, or Italian-made Voxes. You can go through here and you'll see that there's all different types of sounds. You've got classics. You've got things that mimic some of the classic old sounds, like, you know, Light My Fire. That's all I'm going to play on that because I'm a horrible keyboard player. You know, House of the Rising Sun type of sound. 96 Tears type of sound. And then we have just a whole lot of other, kind of classic sounding types of machines. And then you can go through and look at different types here. We've got, you know, bizarre types that kind of out there things that aren't like a real, not like a real Vox. Actually, that is like many real Voxes that you'll actually buy on eBay right now. Then just some different effects types of sounds, just separate pedal-based sounds. So you'll find that there's plenty of sounds to go through. We took some of the, there were some factory sounds that were in the original. We have those in the dry section. In the old manual, there was a manual that had patches on them, so we recreated all the patches from the old Vox manual that we had. And then we have things like the Jennings J70, and you can see these preferences are actually stored per sound. So it's kind of a nice thing, because then you can set different, you know, a split one and then go back into a multi and then go into an upper or lower without having to change your keyboard settings every time. So that's the new Vox V. Enjoy it.